All right. Well, thank you very much, Carmen, and of course, welcome back. If you just joined us to Your View Roundtable. Join me on the roundtable tonight is the president of the Black Management Forum, Mr. Andile Nomlala.
Nomlala.
Man, thank you so much for joining us so late at night. And I know it's round two, ne?
Yes.
It's round two for you.
Yes.
I appreciate your time.
Yes, good evening, JJ, and good evening to your listeners.
Absolutely. So let me tell you what the background to the round table was. So we intended to have a round table with transformation managers, right? And then my producer said to me, hey, nobody wants to come. And they approached 26. Remember, we produced a daily show here. So if they're going to phone 26 people, it means that they stopped everything they were doing for a few days, trying to find people who can come and tell us what's happening in corporate South Africa. Right? And then when they said this, and they said, no, amongst the cocktail of reasons given, I said, hey, if we come there, we're going to lose our jobs the following day and so on. And these are transformation managers. Then I thought we're in trouble. And I thought, no, rather bring the PMF president. Let's talk about this thing. And earlier on, I've also challenged other transformation managers who may not have been contacted because there's more than 26 companies, obviously. But these are 26 big companies. It's not small fry. Do you sense that there is a culture of fear? That even though corporate South Africa is dragging its feet, there is an appreciation that transformation must happen. That's why they actually hire transformation officers. They're not hiring transformation officers to come and tell them all is okay. They hire you and tell you, please get us to the right sort of level and so on and so on. Let's just kick off with that conversation.
Thank you, JJ. I think the first point that I want to put is that the approach that you use, in fact, your producer called us as well.
Yeah.
We did call a couple, so that 26 could go to easy 30, 36.
Okay.
And also they have refused because I wanted to be in a panel.
Yeah. But what is the issue?
Before I go there, JJ, let me first say congratulations to the Springbok for winning the
Absolutely.
World Cup.
I join you.
And
100%.
the reason why I want to mention that, because the Springbok team and the entire squad was actually the reflection of this transformation we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the fundamental point on that is that at some point we had a black coach, Alistair Kutse,
yes,
who appointed an assistant who was black, and who was coaching Stormers. At Stormers, appointed Siakholis as a captain, and Eben Etzebeth as his vice captain. But when he got to the Springbok, he appointed Etzebeth as a captain and not Siakholis. And two, when the pressure started to mount on his performance on the field, he then got rid of his black assistant coach. Now, then, immediately thereafter, his results never improved, and he was eventually dismissed. Now then comes Rassie Erasmus, who then immediately appoints Siakholis as his captain and reappoints the very same assistant coach that was fired, and then form a formidable team of competitive players with a transformation outlook and a transformation agenda. And he effectively delivered us a World Cup. Is much better and sweeter than any other successes in the World Cup.
Because this was not a one-point win.
Yeah, because South Africans as a whole could even identify with the team and could own up to that success. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this Springbok dynamic is exactly to go back to your question. Now, if you want to talk transformation, you can't reduce it to a typical transformation officer in a company.
Okay.
It has to be owned by the board.
And the CEO.
And the CEO, actually, his KPIs and the 30 bonuses that they get must actually reflect or must include the transformation agenda.
Yes.
Now, if you have any other character, whether it's a black CEO or it's a white CEO and is in the context of Rassie Erasmus, but that person must be bold enough to take ownership and own the decisions that comes about with transformation in corporate SA. The problem you have with the transformation officers we're talking about, and actually I'm not going to make victims' villains
Okay.
in this context is that even themselves, shame, they have their own issues. Some, I know a couple of them, BMF interacts with a couple of them. Some of them do want to push transformation, but the entire environment is anti that agenda. But the reality, we must own it up, is that some of them, honestly, they have private school fees to pay. They have houses in Bryanston to pay. So for them, they are honestly there to just cover their bags and get paid and go home in the evening. So we must accept that. And we can't then expect them to be the saviors of the world. If the environment, which is legislative and regulatory environment, doesn't protect them to have the ability to act on the transformation agenda that we want, to such an extent that they point blankly tell you that actually I could get
lose
fired,
my job.
Then you can't expect somebody's parent, aunt, uncle to literally own up his entire career and his entire
In summary,
life.
you are saying to me, we don't have activism, we don't have an environment that is conducive for activism, because if you are telling me as BMF, we are supposed to actually plant people in these places, in these corporates, and coordinate them. Some of them are even your members, right?
Yes.
It sounds like we have given up to say that the environment is so bad that people who actually have been given a job to transform the place are afraid to speak about the challenges they may be facing, how they can support each other, what are the stumbling blocks they are facing, etc., etc. Surely, if you are hired as a transformation in a normal company, you are supposed to actually be given some authority to actually advise. I think I like what you said about that the board must take ownership, the CEO must take ownership. But often they don't know what to do, right? Or they know what to do, but they don't have a champion to get those things done, to have a transformation charter, to go and revise the pipeline of enterprise development or procurement, etc., etc. You know all the things that have to be done to tick all the boxes around BEE.
Let me go further, JJ, to give the example of Springbok. The Springbok team of Rasir Erasmus have actually showed us as South Africans, and other people are in denial, that our strength as a country lies in us leveraging our diversity.
Yeah.
Now, these transformation professionals we're talking about, but let me tell you, it's a very sad reality, and black executives must accept it and must own up to it that they don't have the necessary power. I mean, there are many senior black executives who can't influence even an appointment of a receptionist, but they are executives. Though, now,
let alone the officers who often are not at the highest level.
Now, we must own up to that. And for them to be activists, it's what is expected of them, and they are BMF members. But the reality of the matter is that the people that were celebrating the result of Springbok with its diversity are the very same people, which is the corporate South Africa, particularly white corporate South Africa, are the very same people that idealize the reality of us having transformation. All of them, when they take the podiums, they do mention the word transformation in their own speeches. But when it comes to them effecting, I'm talking about the power brokers now, not just a black executive who has no influence. We talk about, in the corporate structure, we talk about the people that calls the shots, and many of them actually don't even sit as executives.
They don't even sit at ExCo.
They don't even sit in the boards.
Decisions are made.
And they don't even sit in the boards, but they still influence the flow and the happenings of the company. Now, let's not victimize. Let's not make villains out of the victims. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's say the issue about transformation in our country has to be owned up from everybody. The very same people that were celebrating the success of the Springbok must take that model of the Springbok and own up and implement it in their own companies. Let's come to the CEO of Capitec. He says, and admittedly so, that BE hasn't yielded the necessary results. But if we were to quickly ask him a question that, in an ideal outside world, overall speaking, it hasn't. But with Capitec,
in his company,
in your own company, how far are you faring with skills development? How far are you faring with enterprise development? How far are you faring with funding black businesses? How far are you faring with all the 5 pillars of BE on your own, ownership, executive management. He can't account, then he can't be an idealistic opinionator whilst he owns an institution that could make an impact. If he had said, in the outside world, BE hasn't yielded the necessary results, but here at Capitec,
we have done 1, 2, 3
this far
to try and contribute to making it work.
That's the issue. Because if we're going to allow the plethora and the emerging view that the BE hasn't worked, and people are ideally thinking that, in fact, we must not even consider moving towards the BE direction because it hasn't worked, because there's an opportunistic element that is coming with that statement. The people that says BE hasn't worked, and of course it had benefited and a selected few, but the implementers of these deals from corporate end in partnership with the political elite, the grouping of the black people, have concentrated the deals to themselves. Corporate South Africa can't be excluded to that. They had gone. And if you remember, JJ, back in the days, you would even go to an Investec where you're looking for funding as an ordinary black guy. And you would be told there that go find a political principal for us to facilitate your transaction. Now, they can't come back and say BE hasn't worked when it was convenient for them. They had used and liquidated black leaders who were politicians to actually buy them to get BE deals so that then they can turn a blind eye. After we have satisfied JJ, who had enough influence in the ANC, and we don't have to comply with BE anymore, and JJ is going to sit in the NEC of ANC and defend us. That's what they did. Now, they can't come back now and say the BE hasn't worked. And the second point, JJ, is that what we need to deal with is that obviously the laws haven't adequately dealt with a transformed society where a plethora of the poor blacks have been brought in. Now, we can improve the BE. We can improve it from the legislative element, including the fact that we have to protect these transformation officers we are talking about who are running away, because they can't just own it up. There's no jobs in South Africa. If you own up transformation, I interact with black executives across the board, and I've seen it with the Peter Moyo issue, how fearful those guys live. Those guys have to protect their 30, 35 million rand bonuses, and black guys who have 300 million, I'm talking business people who have BE deals of 200 million, they were telling me, don't get involved in the Peter Moyo issue, when it's a very clear situation that there is foul play being done, even confirmed by the court.
This is worse than I thought. I'm going to talk about that after the break. How do we deal with that culture of fear? Because if you look at the most recent employment equity report, it's actually a shame that after 25 years, 70% of all new appointments are still to white people. 70% of promotions are to white people. It means that, as I was saying last night, anybody, who doesn't care about the family, we're just laughing to see these guys have a law they can implement. We're just carrying on in a straight line. And I want us to deal with that a little bit. What will be the solution to reactivate activism from within? I'm still inviting transformation managers out there who maybe have power. They don't fall into the category we're defining tonight. Maybe you have power, you have influence, and you think, I can talk about the challenges I'm facing, challenges that transformation project is facing in the country, and I can share some best practice. Let's take a break now.